Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Really excited to be here with you live. And today I am going to be chatting, or we are going to be chatting about how to heal your gut to lose weight. Because I think a lot of the time we go about it the wrong way. We think, oh, we sort of focus on this every different tool that we can use to sort of lose weight. But the thing is, and I'm just going to pop on my comments right here. So when you come onto this live, please just tell me that you're here and pop that in the comments section so that I can see that you're here. But, you know, we tend to reach and grab for all these things. So whether you're watching and you have got gut issues, GI issues such as bloating, leaky gut, other digestive issues that you might have, SIBO or IBS. So whether you're watching and you have digestive issues, or whether you're watching and you need and want to lose weight, you're in the right place for both of those issues, because I'm going to be covering them briefly today. But the most important thing to understand is that the two things go together. So, oh, that's a great question. I'm going to take some of these questions that you're popping in. I'm going to go through this and then I'm going to take some of your questions, because there are some really good questions in there. So just save your questions. I can see a couple of them now, but I want you to try and save those to when I say, okay, we're open for questions, which is going to be in about 15 minutes or so. Okay. But first, I want to just make this so clear, because it's a piece that is missed over and over again in the weight loss space, the gut health space, every space where anybody talks about menopause, when anybody talks about belly fat in menopause, when anybody talks about losing weight in menopause, gut health, you cannot, and I'm going to underline this again, you can't separate the two, because your gut health is foundational. It's the absolute foundation, not just obviously. I think most of us know that now. It's not rocket science that we know that having a healthy digestive system and a healthy gut microbiome is the foundation for health. And the opposite would be true, that if your gut is impaired, your gut health is impaired, if you don't have a healthy, balanced microbiome, then illness will more easily take hold. And that's when you are going to see the inflammation leading to chronic disease and many other issues that we face. Moreover, I think we're beginning to understand now what a big and important part gut, we call it gut health, but your gut, your digestive system sort of starts in your mouth and goes all the way through. So that is your digestive system. And when we think of gut health, we tend to just think, oh, it's just sort of in the belly. But I want you to remember that your digestive system it actually starts even before you put food in your mouth. It starts with your senses. And as a nutritionist, and with all the women and the clients that I help, we spend quite a lot of time, we lean quite heavily into this. It's not just what we eat, but it's how we digest our food as well. So that's our digestive system. But our gut microbiome, which you've probably heard about. Hi, Sandy. It's so great to see you here. So our gut microbiome is a colony. It's a community of microbes in our gut. It's not actually even just in our gut. You have a microbiome on your skin, in your nose, in your eyes, your ears, your mouth, everywhere. It's this living colony of good bacteria, hopefully a lot of really good bacteria that it does everything that it needs to do to keep you really, really healthy. So what I want to go into today is I do want to discuss this connection between the two, because I know a lot of you out there are struggling with losing weight, particularly losing belly fat after menopause, particularly after menopause. You might be a little bit younger. Now we see women going into perimenopause as early as late 30s actually now, but certainly if you're 45 and older, which definitely is the group of women that I talk to most of the time, most of my clients fall within that sort of age range, 45 and above, then you've got all your shifting hormones. And that leads to a whole nother layer of challenges, if you like, physiological and psychological challenges that layer into this whole piece that I'm talking about today in a different way. So are there challenges? Do you need a completely different approach when it comes to healing your gut and your health and your ability, your body's ability to release unwanted pounds? Yes, you do. and my approach is a very, very different approach. But I just want to dig into this piece. Yes, exactly. Yes. Cindy's here. Hi, Cindy. It's lovely to see you. Cindy is one of my clients. She's currently in my program. So let's talk about this. Now, the first thing is that the connection that I've already said between your gut health and your inability to lose unwanted pounds cannot be ignored. It is a prime factor. So what affects your gut health? What affects your microbiome? So it is too many things that I could even mention on this live this morning, because your gut microbiome has been built, has been formed since you were born. And so the way the food that we were fed as children, the way that you were delivered as you came into the world, the medications that you've taken, the antibiotics that you've taken, the environment that you live in, whether you're exposed to environmental toxins, either through your skin or through your diet or through products in your life, or pesticides or herbicides, it's multifactorial of how your gut microbiome could have been affected and might be affected now. So that's beyond the scope of what I can talk about today, but just know that there are many, 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 many reasons why. I'm interested to know how many of you who are watching have been on a course of one or more antibiotics over the last 5 years. So put that in the chat. Really interested to know, one or more. So that's a really interesting thing to know, because if you regularly take antibiotics, that's something that obviously can really, really wipe out all this good bacteria. And it is the proliferation of the good bacteria that I want to explain how that relates to not only health, but to weight loss. So I need you to stick around until the end. We're going to go quite quickly now so that I can explain that. The other thing, really interestingly, is we're hearing a lot about these weight loss drugs right now, such as Ozempic and Wegovy, and the drugs that are, ostensibly for diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or for obesity. And what's really interesting to me is that the most sort of deleterious side effect of all of these medications and how they affect anybody's body negatively is through the GI tract. And it is the digestive issues that become a major, major issue for anybody taking these drugs. It impacts your digestive system. So people get constipated, they get gastroenteritis, they get all kinds of gastro issues. And so it's a little bit sad, because you're obviously taking, using something that isn't going to, it's not a long-term solution anyway, but in the process of doing that, and you really might want to pass this along to anybody who is thinking about something like that, is that the overall impact that it has on your health, but very, very specifically the impact that these kind of medications can have on your GI tract and on your microbiome. And this is something that can be really serious and can, have long-lasting, ramifications further down the line. But also, it's not just those medications. It's really many medications that you could take. It can be acid blockers, and there's all the, the long list of medications that we see lining the stores of our drugstores. All of those medications are obviously going to have some effect on your microbiome. Right, Cindy. Yeah, lots of antibiotics for sinus infections and everything else. And so it's interesting that we take these antibiotics, or we're given them, or we prescribe them for, it can be a really serious thing like a sinus infection or some kind of infection. And, while it can be, life-saving in some ways, what we really want to do is we want to always look at the root cause first, and we want to see if we can, heal ourselves in a different way. But getting your microbiome healthy is the most important thing. Now, the two big things that I want to focus on today in terms of your gut health and your microbiome, and therefore the knock-on effect in your body's ability to lose weight, is number one, diet, and number two, stress. So although I've said there are all these other effects, whether it's the medications, whether it's the environmental toxins, whether it's the environmental toxins in your food and the food you eat, these things are very real issues. And as part of a holistic lifestyle change, that's something that I definitely we want to look at all those different pieces. But for the purposes of today, let's keep it really simple and really easy for you to understand. So let's look at diet, and then we're going to look at stress, and we're going to look at best practices for both of those, how they affect your gut and your weight loss, and a couple of tips of how to handle that. All right, so let's first talk about diet. Now, eating processed foods. I mean, everybody who's here, you're all smart women here. So that eating a standard American diet, which is full of processed foods, it's extremely low in fiber. Extreme. I think I heard some statistic yesterday that I think it was somewhere up in almost 90% of Americans don't even get the adequate amount of daily fiber every single day. And this is all Americans. But for women over 45, particularly women in menopause, if you're 50 and over, or in menopause or beyond, this is a really, really serious issue, because this goes way beyond weight loss. If you're not getting enough fiber, and I am not talking about taking a supplement, I'm not talking about Metamucil or taking a fiber supplement, I'm talking about getting fiber in food. And if you're not getting enough fiber, this can be extremely deleterious to your health as a menopausal or postmenopausal woman. You need the fiber to remove excess estrogen from your blood. This is from your bloodstream. And this is one of the ways that it can be taken out of your bloodstream and be eliminated. The only way is by eating fiber, and enough fiber, and having your system be really, really regular and working beautifully. So this is that. When I heard that statistic, it was so alarming, because I thought, okay, fine, if you're a teenager, or but for the women who I speak to who are over 50, this is a very, very serious issue. So how do we get enough fiber? So and what kind of fiber? So the fiber that we want to get, we're going to largely get from a whole food. We get them from plants, right? Fiber is in plants. It's not in animal products. It's not in dairy. It's been completely removed from processed food. So that is a standard American diet, what I've just said. Very, very meat heavy. It's also a keto diet, right? Many of you have tried or heard of the keto diet, right? Very, very high in animal protein. Okay, very, very high in fat. Where's the fiber there? So there's so many reasons why this kind of way of eating, sadly, that some of you are trying to do through desperation, because you're like, you've heard it's the thing, it's not about fitting into a skinny casket, as I often say. So it's not found in a standard, you're not going to get enough fiber in a standard American diet. You're not going to get enough fiber in a sort of keto-ish type of diet. So you're going to get enough fiber, but more importantly, the right kind of fiber in a whole food, plant-based diet. Then you're going to be upping your fiber from maybe under 20% a day, or even less than that in a lot of people's cases. And you're going to be upping it to 70, 80, 90. And that's really what you want to lead to. That is the most important thing. It's the broom that gets everything moving through your system. And the beauty of it is that this fiber, so both soluble and insoluble fiber that you get from a whole food plant-based diet, is the exact fiber that is going to actually help heal your gut. It's the exact fiber that is going to help get to the root cause of your gut issues. It's exactly the kind of fiber you need to eventually heal leaky gut, if you have leaky gut. And it's the exact fiber you need. And this is really interesting. It's the exact fiber you need to release, and you can write this down, something called short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids. And short-chain fatty acids is what your beautiful bacteria in your gut produce. Short-chain fatty acids from eating all these plant fibers. And guess what they do? Guess what they do? They message your brain. It's a feedback loop which decreases your appetite. So no medications with deleterious effects that are going to mess up your GI tract. You're going to get that from eating food, real food. Not only that, but you eat these kind of foods, and in eating a very varied whole food plant-based diet, you're also getting not only all the macronutrients you need. Where in this society, we're obsessed with cutting out an entire macronutrient. Big mistake. Meaning complex carbs. Big mistake. Okay, so by eating a really varied, and you've got to know how to do it in the right way, because there's a right way and a wrong way to do a whole food plant-based diet. I'm not calling it, it's not a vegan diet, but a whole food plant-based diet. There is a right way and a wrong way to do that. Cindy, who's on right now, who's one of my clients, she understands that. Women who work with me very closely, we get really, really into it, because it requires a little bit more, it requires some guidance to really get it right. But when you do it and you do it right, suddenly you've got this massively varied, all these different nutrients coming in, and you're getting the micronutrients that you need. And it's really important to understand that, because the micronutrients are what heal your body. They're what makes you feel, they're vital. You can't live without micronutrients. And the problem is most of us have a diet that is very, very, very low in micronutrients. So hello, supplements, right? So that's why you're sold, whether it's at the doctor's office, the naturopath's office, or you just go into your drugstore, or you see online, there's endless supplements to cure something that you can fix by eating a beautiful, balanced, satiating, delicious whole food plant-based diets, right? None of these medications are needed. Now, a recent research study showed that participants just 16 weeks on a whole food plant-based diet can boost their microbiome significantly. So the stool samples, everything were tested significantly, which led to permanent weight loss. And that is just in 16 weeks. The thing that also blows me away is research shows that those who adopt a whole food plant-based diet can improve their microbiota, their microbiome, the health of their microbiome in as little as 5 days. So we're all after sort of quick and easy fixes and easy solutions and fixes. Well, 5 days, is that quick enough for you, right? So interestingly, these studies showed, and I've got this down here, is that those who adopted, and it was a crossover randomized trial, so it was a really well-designed study, and there's been a lot of very well-designed studies on this, but studies showed that those on the, doing this whole food plant-based diet and doing it right, again, I'm a nutritionist, so, we can throw out these big broad terms like whole food plant-based diet, but there's plenty of people who do it in a way that you're not can help a little bit with your gut health and maybe not so much with your weight release. So you really do have to know exactly how to do it. But interestingly, this study showed that out of the weight that was released, 2/3 of it, and this is really significant, 2/3 of it were body fat, and notably belly fat. Belly fat. So if there's one thing that I hear over and over and over and over again from women in my community, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, all these places where I am right now and where I put out regular content, the thing that I hear over and over, the emails that I get from women every day, and I speak to a lot of women on calls as well. And the thing that I hear over and over is struggling with weight around the midsection. And this is very, very specifically after menopause. So if that's what you're struggling with, then you may want to revisit your diet, basically, because what might have worked for you 10 years ago, or certainly 20 years ago, just by, I'm eating a little cleaner or cutting back. And certainly the thing that I absolutely vehemently disagree with is cutting calories or counting calories or having an app where you count calories, because that's absolutely ridiculous, because a calorie isn't a calorie. We're talking about that does not speak to healing your gut in any way, shape, or form, right? So why would we do that? Plus, it's boring and tedious. And plus, every single research study shows that counting calories or points or tracking calories and points has a 98% failure rate. So over time. So let's just get that one out of the window. What you need is a lifestyle. You need to adopt a beautiful lifestyle. So not only that, so we're talking about changing your body composition, right? But we're also talking about dialing down inflammation, okay? And I want you to see, as much as I can in this short live stream, I want you to see how all of these things connect with each other. So my approach to health and wellness and helping women lose weight, and in my program, as I said, Cindy, a couple of others, are here today, and hi, is that it's an integrative approach. And that means that everything is integrated. Everything that you do is integrated. So you can't separate off, I'm going to deal with inflammation over here, going to deal with gut health over here, weight loss over here, arthritis over here. Everything's related. Everything. But it all of it starts with your digestive system, with what you put in your mouth and what is going to basically heal your digestion. So the knock-on effects that I see with my beautiful clients of eating this way is not only do they release their unwanted pounds, not only do they release their belly fat, but also they feel satiated. And the other piece is the biggest thing that I see is how it dials down inflammation. And there are so many, I don't know if anybody of my lovely other clients are on today, but I've had many, many clients who have dialed down their inflammation to such an extent that at the beginning of the time when they first started working with me, the pain was in their joints, their fingers, their wrists, their back. I mean, a lot of inflammation. And of course, compounding that inflammation if you're overweight. So if you're 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight, that weight is bearing down on those joints that are already hurting. Okay, so we got to get to the root of both of those pieces. It's not one or the other. So what if you could eat in a way, what if you could adopt a way of eating that becomes a lifestyle that dials down your inflammation, heals your gut, releases unwanted pounds, and it's the only way of, I'm going to call it a diet, because diet doesn't mean weight loss diet. Diet simply means what you eat, doesn't it? That's what the word diet means. And it's the only diet that has been shown over time it gives somebody sustainable weight loss, meaning, actually a better way of putting this is allows a participant in studies that we've seen have been done 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that they get to that ideal weight and they maintain it. They maintain it. And many of my clients not only maintain it, but they go from good to better to better to better, because now they don't have to worry about that piece. Now they don't have the pain and the inflammation and the weight. So now what? Great. I'm going to start running or dancing or doing this or climbing or hiking or doing this thing I've always wanted to do in my life. Way too excited about doing that now than having to worry about all of this. So that's the joy of it. Now, the other piece that I wanted to get to, and this is really very, very, very important, is the other thing, aside from diet, that affects your gut microbiome is stress. And ladies, or any gentlemen who are watching, you swallow your stress. We eat stress. You swallow stress. And if you are living a lifestyle right now where you are in constant stress, where you have chronic stress, and the way that you can tell, you probably know if you do, but again, I think women, and very much menopausal women, it's unfortunate, isn't it? Because I'm going to be 59 this month, actually, this month. But we are in that age bracket, a lot of our women, where we're working, right? We're still in the workforce, we're working full time. We have all kinds of family stuff going on. Maybe we have young adult children. Some of my clients have teenagers, elderly parents, right? We're dealing with a lot of loss and grief, and there's a lot going on in the world. And so all of these factors really have us living in chronic stress. And if we live in chronic stress, this directly affects your gut health and your microbiome. You cannot even digest your food properly, whatever food you're eating, if you're in fight, flight, or freeze response, which you probably are without even knowing it. So if you're rushing through your day, haven't got enough time, haven't got enough hours, stretch from morning till night, taking care of everybody, grabbing food when you can, eating, just collapsing in the evening because you're so exhausted, and eating in front of the TV, then do you think that you're going to be able to digest the food? No wonder everybody suffers from gas and bloating. It's one of the most searched terms out there, gas and bloating, because you've decimated your digestive tract with all this stress. And studies have shown, and there's a lot of new studies coming out that show that stress, and not even just everyday stress, but it can be trauma as well. And this can be trauma that may be undealt with trauma, that maybe you had years and years ago, even from being a child, maybe perhaps that you might not have dealt with. And it might be, more recent trauma. A lot of women that I work with, there is some trauma. And we tend to think, trauma is this big, huge thing, where something absolutely catastrophic happened, to me. And yes, sadly, that happens to many, many women I work with, and they've got a history of a lot of that. But, trauma can be, there's a big scale for that. But if something happened that has changed you on some level, that it's hurt you or changed you or thrown you or knocked you sideways, then there is a level of trauma there. And that directly affects your microbiome, ladies. As much as all those environmental toxins that I talked about, and as much as the food that you eat. So that's a piece that we really need to deal with as well. And so it's really important that if you're in that place right now where you are suffering from chronic stress, and you're in most of the time in that kind of fear and what if and oh my gosh, and it's just Groundhog Day. It's one day after another, just getting up, surviving, barely getting through the day, then you are in chronic stress. And and I know it, I wish there was a magic wand. I wish I could just go, this is what you need to do. 3 tips for dealing with chronic stress. And it's not as easy as that, obviously. Some of you will have to go and get help and get, counseling, and, there's lots of different things that you could do. There's lots of different modalities to help you deal with. But I think we tend to sometimes think, oh, just stress is this sort of arbitrary, free floating thing. And that can be good stress and bad stress. There's amazing stress. We need some stress in our life. Well, our bodies are designed to deal and almost thrive of intermittent periods of stress, but not just this chronic stress that's with us all the time. All right. So we're out of time, because this is I wanted to just hop on for 30 minutes, and I'll be coming in a lot more. And what's coming down the pipe with me is I'm going to be going back to bringing on a lot of different experts onto these live streams, and even, yes, I said it here for the first time, an upcoming podcast is going to be releasing in the not too distant future. But what I also wanted to say is that if anybody, and I'll take some questions, I'm going to open up to questions in a moment, and I will take some of those questions. So stick around if you just want to ask me some questions. But before I do, if you are out there, and anyone who's watching, you're suffering. So either you're suffering with impaired gut health, inflammation, belly fat, brain fog, menopausal symptoms that are affecting everything, and you're feeling really down, discouraged, hopeless, and helpless, you don't need to be, because I promise you there is a solution. I promise you there's an answer. Now, is it easy? Is it quick fix, magic, one silver bullet time? No, it isn't. But like anything that's really worthwhile in life, it takes a little bit of understanding and learning and putting into practice and applying and commitment. And it also takes help. I'm a great believer that you can't do it on your own, and that most of us need help to be able to dial the whole picture in. As I said, it's integrative. It's holistic. It's not just this one thing. Oh, I'm going to start intermittent fasting and that's going to help. Well, maybe, but maybe not. If it's not put into the toolbox with all the other tools that you need. There's many tools out there. Some are total and utter BS nonsense. And I can't even believe that people are talking about that on the internet. There's literally no credible data or science behind it, sadly. And there are some things that are really, that can be efficacious and some pretty solid stuff out there. But you really need to know how to pull all the best, most powerful strands together. It's almost like pulling all the tools together to build your toolkit that's really going to give you everything that you want, which is, good gut health, obviously maintaining your beautiful ideal weight, getting there and then maintaining that. And that's what you need. So if you need help with that, in the description to this video, and I think I've put it on the YouTube description and the Facebook description, but you can book a free breakthrough session with me. And these calls are only for women so please, be respectful that, if you needed to cancel and whatever, you can give me 24 hours notice. But it really is for women who are sick and tired of being sick and tired and really want to start a journey of health, claim your health destiny and transformation, and know and really understand that it's hard to do on your own, and really understand the value of putting yourself first, your health first, investing in your health, because you really understand that it's priceless. Because if you fix this, your mind, your body and spirit, and if you transform this so that you can wake up every morning feeling energy, feeling great, feeling, just not having to worry about your weight or your inflammation or your pain, just think then what kind of a life opens up for you for the next chapter of your life. That is absolutely priceless. So what I'll do, I think I have it here. Oh my gosh, have I? I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm putting it in the chat, and hopefully that will work. I'm putting the link in the chat. I think it went in there. Yes, it did. So it's in the chat. So you can grab that link there to book a breakthrough session with me, or it's in the description to the video. Now, I'm going to take a couple of questions before I pop off. So let's have a look. Now, I think one of the questions, Cindy, yay! Cindy said it's changed her life. She's one of my beautiful clients. Oh, great question. What is a whole food plant-based diet? So basically, there's a lot of different descriptions or not descriptions, definitions of a whole food plant-based diet, but it's basically been plant forward. So the mainstay of your diet is going to be whole foods, not processed foods, because some people get confused and they think it's a vegan diet, but a vegan diet can be, I was going to say is, but it can be very, very unhealthy because it's all the processed foods that we see on the shelves, the fake cheeses, the fake meats, the fake blah, 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 blah. So, if it's ethical concerns for somebody, there's a lot of great choices out there, but it's not necessarily going to lead to health and weight loss. So a whole food plant-based diet is whole foods. It's whole plant foods in their most intact form that nature presents to us. These calories have walls around them. Your calories are walled off. Your body has to work hard to break it down. So it's full of complex carbs and, it's fruits, lots of beautiful fruits and veggies and legumes and beans and all these beautiful plant-based proteins that are all anti-inflammatory. And again, I haven't got time to get into it here, but what my clients start understanding when they work with me is it's extraordinary when you start really understanding that our medicine is in nature. Our medicine is in food. So you can actually think of food as healing your body one meal at a time, because there are so many. It's like, even take something like edamame beans or unprocessed organic soy, which has isoflavones in it. And isoflavones have been shown to be extremely preventative against breast cancer or recurrence of breast cancer and decreasing menopausal symptoms. So there's one example of a food. Another food could be something as simple as a beet, a raw, well, it can be a cooked or raw beet. So for those who have digestive issues, there are so many women who have had their gallbladder taken out and, digestions with problems with their bile and gallbladder, etc. And you eat foods like, prepared properly, like beets. And that has, the digestive enzymes, the liver cleansing properties of something as simple as a beet. There are all the fermented foods. People take handfuls of probiotics and handfuls of all these supplements. There are a few supplements that you need to take on a whole food plant-based diet. And I get into great detail of that with my clients, because what we have is, what I offer, and Cindy knows this, is it's a very customized and personalized plan. So I work with you very carefully to make sure that you're getting the exact supplements, exact nutrients that you need, that everything's working for you. And we help you to dial every element of it in, and not just your nutrition, but your entire lifestyle. So that's what I do. It is a holistic and it is a very integrated approach. But it is fascinating. I find it so exciting as a nutritionist. The more I've got into this world over the last 10 years, it's just like, wow. And then somebody's got this issue or that issue, and you need, let's put some more of that in. Again, I was going back to the probiotics instead of taking handfuls of expensive probiotics. And there are some probiotics that are great. And once we really get into the nuances of gut health, that's a whole nother thing, again, beyond the scope of this live stream today. But at least start with eating probiotic foods, such as there's a lot of fermented veggies now that you can get from the store. You can ferment your own veggies, whether it's sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, tempeh, sourdough bread, real sourdough bread, not like, sourdough bread just by a name. But again, there's a way to do everything right. And that's where we really want to get pretty nuanced with this. Okay, let's look at some of these questions. Dawn, hello. Yeah. There's little nutrition in our soil. You're absolutely right, which is why, and that's a really good point. That's why it's not, I mean, in some soils, there's very little nutrition. And that's why where we source our food from is very, very important as well. Obviously, if you can go to your farmers markets and you can get food that is grown by a sustainable farmer, an organic farmer, a farmer who really cares about improving their soil quality so that we do have those micronutrients back in the soil and they come into our plants. That's really absolutely where you want to go. That's a really good point. Oh, thank you, Cindy. All right. I just want to see, there was another question. Grass-fed meat from a farm that doesn't give vaccine. Yeah, it's really hard. The whole grass-fed meat thing is just, it's such a labeling loophole, to be honest with you. And still you want to look at, even for those of you who think, oh, well, grass-fed meat, but still that's a chunk of meat that is full of saturated fat. And now the American Presidential Committee of the American Heart Association has unequivocally said, in the face of all of this nonsense on the internet, you need to minimize your consumption of saturated fat. So I don't care if it's a grass-fed whatever, it's still a hunk of saturated fat, on your plate. And since heart disease is the #1 killer of women over 50 in the Western world, you want to minimize that. So if you take that off your plate and fill it with foods that are actually going to heal your body, that would be the way to go. Sinus infections. Yeah, Cindy. This is a different Cindy K. Yep. And then I'm just seeing if there's there was another question that was a really good one about thyroid. Lose weight when you have thyroid issues. Yeah. And I'll finish on this. So thyroid issues, a lot of women who come to me go, I can't lose weight because they've been told that it's their thyroid. So thyroid issues are epidemic. I have to say that I would say 80% of women who come to me have some kind of a thyroid issue. Either they don't have a thyroid, it's been removed, they've had thyroid cancer, they have Hashimoto's, or they just simply have a low firing, as it were, thyroid. Low thyroid. That would be 80% of women that I work with. And what I will tell you is, some of you are on medications, and there are lots of different medications, but the women that I work with improve their thyroid function dramatically through changing the way they eat. And I've seen that happen over and over again. I've seen it happen very much for me as well. So having my thyroid tested 10 years ago when I was 49, which was like, maybe we're looking at taking some natural medications, to now, nothing needed, nothing. And I'm 10 years older. So don't let anybody tell you that that is the cause of your weight gain. Well, I should say, actually, that's not quite true. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't release all your unwanted pounds because of your thyroid issues, because it's simply not true. The women that I work with release their weight regardless of having thyroid issues. So thank you for coming and spending your precious time with me today. And I'll be back for more. Absolutely fantastic. And just know that going forward, have it front and center of your mind, your heart, your focus, everything. You really, really want to focus on your microbiome health, your gut health, feeding. Just think of it as I've got these good bacteria all over my body, but very much in my digestive system. And the end game, the plan is that you want to feed them. You want to feed them. Feed to breed. They don't want meat. They don't want processed foods. They want plant-based fiber. feed them, they will breed, meaning that they will proliferate, and then they will heal your gut, curb your appetite, and give you everything you want. All right, see you later.